got to find a way to get in, and I'll tell you, there's a guy in the audience who applied for a job at StockX and was rejected, and came to a talk that I was at, and waited and asked a question just like this, and asked me here. He said, "Listen, I applied for a job. I didn't get, could I talk to you afterwards?" And I talked to him afterwards. I thought he sounded really smart. I had them re-interview him. He got a job as an intern. He crushed it as an intern. We hired him full time. He crushed it there. I then took him with me from StockX to the new company. And now he goes with me everywhere and does everything. And like, if he hadn't got up there at that time and asked that question, and by the way, he then handed me this thing of cards, so that worked out well too. But if he hadn't done that, if he had just taken the rejection of that first time, like none of that, would have happened. So he's right, man. You gotta just, it's grinding.
Also, don't assume that rejection's a rejection, because you don't necessarily know what space the person is you're talking to at that moment, and they might be filing something away for the rejection might be, I can't do this right now, but let's talk in 6 months, and if you're still going, that might be when the other guy has the capability of integrating or working with you or whatever it is. So don't, there's people out here too that have come to me every time they see me, and I love talking to them, but I can't do anything with it right now. But it doesn't mean that we don't think that there's value in what they're offering down the road too.
And a warm intro is still better than a cold one.
Yeah.
Let's be clear. But sometimes you got to hustle and find your right way.
On the topic of Omaha, Peyton, right? So first tell us what Omaha is and what is your vision for it?
Yeah, I mean, Omaha is a production company we started just a year and a half ago, and I've always enjoyed participating in the things that I've been a part of. I do something for ESPN called Peyton's Places. It's kind of a history of the NFL in a fun, informative way. But I guess the most fun part about it, Ezra, was the creating the ideas, right? Just like Brent was saying, it's these stories of the NFL and how the NFL got to be, and what idea, what story can we tell? And so I really was part of the creativity of it, not just the host of the show. And so off of that, we started Omaha Productions, and we produce that show. We also produce 10 other sports places series on ESPN. Abby Wambach does soccer, Vince Carter does basketball, John McEnroe is about to do tennis. And so to be on that side of it, the production side, creating ideas, having people that have walked the walk in their sport tell the story of that sport, we're excited. We actually produce the Monday night show that Eli and I do, and what's cooler than that is that we're going to produce a mega cast for ESPN for golf, UFC fighting, and college football as well. So it's just fun to be in this second chapter for me on the other side of it, helping to tell stories, partnering with Brent on the Golden Touch. Ken Golden is a TV star, by the way, but just to tell people the story, the people that don't know, the passion that goes into collecting and how hard it is, how much work goes behind the scenes to get someone that collectible that they want. I'm just excited to be on that side of it. I mentioned Tom Brady's unretirement. When Tom retired, I said, I need your address. I said, texting you congratulations on your incredible career just doesn't feel right. So I want to write you personal letters. I wrote this long, 2 pages, into it, and mailed it to him, sent him a bottle of wine, and he unretires. I'm like, I want the letter back. You got to read all these nice things. I want it back. I want the bottle of wine back too.
So you mentioned Manning Cast. So I think you're probably patching into a lot of our homes every Monday night, over the last couple of months. How do you see alternate viewing experiences being part of sports and sort of the sports viewing experience going forward?
No, I think it's important, and I think, look, obviously we're trying to target the younger audience, trying to get more eyeballs on football, helping to grow the game, right? I'm passionate about football. The more people that we can talk about it with in a different way, right? Eli thought ESPN was joking. So wait a minute, you want to pay me to watch football with my brother from my house? I know I went to Ole Miss, but that sounds like a pretty good idea. So, it's fun to do it with my brother. That's how I watch football now, on my couch. It's like we're at a bar on the couch watching the game and the viewers watching with us. And then we have guests that are passionate about football, right? Condoleezza Rice, Snoop Dogg, Jon Stewart, Marshawn Lynch, people in all different fields that love football. And I love being around people that love football, just like everybody in this room loves collecting, right? And so the passion is the same no matter what field it's in, and it's fun to do it in that way, and to talk about the game we love with people that love it in kind of a more fun, informative way in a casual setting.
One of the real sort of theses back of this conference, right, was to kind of celebrate the history and the heritage of the category, while also sort of seeing what the future might have in store. So I'm curious, you know, as eBay's seeing the world, I mean, what does the future of this industry look like to you guys?
Well, I think one of the things that's incredibly important for us to figure out how to incorporate into the items is the provenance of the item. I was telling Peyton earlier I was going to buy his rookie card before I got out here, and I couldn't help but think that's kind of a goofy rookie card. But knowing that you were bouncing on a trampoline makes it almost better. Like it completely flipped in my mind of like, that is now the coolest rookie card I've ever seen. But being able to add that provenance and add the sort of the history or the characteristics of the player to the card, I think that's super important. I think that's one of the things that digital is going to bring. I think the blending of the physical and the digital world, I think the tangible assets are always going to be the most important thing out there. But, you know, being able to blend, I can see a world where the story of that card travels with the card through the blockchain, through however it happens. I could see a world where that jersey, that first jersey of yours gets connected to a digital twin, and the jersey without the digital twin is not going to be as exciting as just owning the jersey. So I see a real blending coming of the digital and the physical, but I think the physical will always be the most important piece of it.
Well, you know, you broke some news yesterday. I believe it was yesterday, not Thursday. You joined Instagram.
Yeah. It was my 46th birthday on Thursday. I wanted a new putter. Instead, I got an Instagram account. So, not sure. But yeah, I don't know, kind of going back to that fan mail, maybe I was a dinosaur in some ways, but I took pride in writing handwritten letters to people, to sick people, to people turning 100, to retired athletes. And maybe I wasn't, in returning fan mail, I wasn't reaching as many people. But I felt like the ones that I was, you know, doing a personal letter to or autograph to, I was reaching in a bigger way. And so maybe I didn't quite understand it, but since the creation of Omaha and all the things that we're doing and the stories that we're telling, it made sense to join it so we can tell the stories of other people, not all the things that I'm doing, things that other people are doing, and celebrate that. So I'm excited about you know, sharing some of the stories that we're creating on the Instagram account.
And Brent, I mean, you are no stranger to Instagram and social media and TikTok and all that stuff. So how has social media sort of helped forge deeper bonds between athletes and fans, celebrities and fans? What are you seeing there?
I think Peyton and I were talking about how players today, you know, really collaborate more in the off season. They're all hanging out. That was not happening, you know, historically. And we represent, work with a lot of the big TikTok stars and Instagram kids, and they aggregate their audiences and come together, and it's insanely powerful. I mean, it's great to have like an actor, an actress who's a household name front a product, but the fans don't actually know that much about them, about who they are. So when you get these real people, I mean, like you see Wahlberg, you know, who's such a fan of the space. And putting stuff out with his kids, and it's just, I think that collaboration is fun. And then of course, you know, there's a lot of disagreements and drama that comes out of it as well.
Awesome. Bob, I mean, you know, you do a ton with eBay. I mean, does eBay have any plans to start creating content as well?
Yeah, we just launched our own social handle at eBay Collectibles. Social is important. I think we intend to use that to, one, bring in players to highlight their own items and stuff that they're hyping, and also just, you know, straight up let people know when there's cool stuff on the site, special promotions, all of that. The social component is super critical. It's also going to be an avenue for people to let us know what we need to do better and give us their thoughts and feelings. One of the hardest challenges at our scale is feedback. And I know there's plenty of it, and it's one of the reasons why we love being in places like this, because there's probably no consumer more willing to share their feedback than a collector. But we learn so much from it. I mean, we take it all in, and it's all been so valuable. Everything that we've built in the past couple of years to try to improve the marketplace on eBay has been from feedback that comes directly from either sellers or buyers, right? So the social handle is going to help with that. And we're here to just again signal that we want to be part of this community. We want to hear from it. We want to help it grow. Just as an FYI, at our booth, we've got live agents. So if you're sitting there suffering in silence because something weird happened on your account, go over there. They'll fix it. But those are the kind of things that we can do more directly with a social handle as well. So we got the business side of letting people know what's happening on eBay at any one given time, and then we've got the social side of being able to connect with people when they're having issues. We don't want people to suffer in silence.
That's great. With your rollout of culture cards, right? With Zero Cool in partnership with Gary, of course, and VFriends. You've talked, I've heard you on podcasts and videos, you've talked ad nauseum for many years about how bullish you are on culture cards and opportunity. Tell us a little bit about that opportunity, what you're seeing, what you think is going to happen with all that.
Actually, that topic gave me an interesting thought. TV shows create fashion a lot. I mean, after Friends, like even I was rocking the Rachel. Are we going to see everyone wearing Ken's Paisley button-downs?
It's going to be a little bit more Vanderpump Rules, where he's the elder statesman, and we're going to find it's just called the younger folks.
I don't know. I think he owns that corner. I don't know if that becomes a national trend. Look, as much as sports have dominated cards and the value of trading cards forever, the other people in culture, musicians, actors, fashion designers, architects, philanthropists, business people, are as important and as iconic and as culturally relevant as any athlete ever. Sorry, not to, But, and so as fans, as collectors, there's very few people that are singularly focused and say, I'm just a football fan. I don't like anything else in the entire world. Maybe you're a football fan, but maybe you also like art, or maybe you also like NFTs or whatever it is. And that's the goal of Zero Cool. It's all other aspects of culture. It's not just TV and movies, which is where traditional non-sport trading cards have lived. Marvel and Star Wars and GPK and things that Bob mentioned are staples in our collections. But I've been buying Jimi Hendrix cards for a long time. I just had a conversation with someone on my team who had gotten a gift. Bob Dylan gave him a harmonica that he played. Like, oh my God, right? Like, how unbelievable is that? From, that's on the same level with Peyton's first game jersey, right? First game jersey. So that's the goal of Zero Cool, and I think as we try to grow the entire hobby, the entire industry, going to other audiences, other collector bases, is a great way to grow all of this. And maybe they come in and maybe the inverse. Maybe it's an art fan, but they also like football, and the way that they come into trading cards is by buying an art set, and then they actually then come in and start buying football cards. So it's exciting. It's a blast to be doing that because this is our life. This is culture.
That's fascinating. Brent, I mean, you're at the center of Hollywood, of course. I mean, have trading cards started to sink in with celebrities and artists who are not athletes yet?
Yeah, I think to Josh's point, street culture, cool kicks. There's a lot of, young, cool kids out there doing it. And of course, you got Kevin Hart, you got just the people, I think what he said is exactly right. These people are curious, right? So they're finding different ways. I think we like to almost call this thing investables because the idea that you can actually make money off of of culture, of being able to pick, that's a completely different skill set than investing in the stock market. And so I think it's very legitimate in Hollywood. I think everybody's trying to figure out, NFTs and the more complex stuff. But I think the fractionalization is really awesome because we did a piece of Pawn Stars on the Declaration of Independence. There's about 15 original copies, and you know this world better than I do. 300 people got to buy a piece of it. It was like the Green Bay Packers sort of ownership. It felt super cool, and then we got to have it at our Wheelhouse in LA and show people. So they still have it. They still have that asset, and for athletes and other people to be able to take some money out of their items and not necessarily part with it, it's mind-blowing.
Yeah, I mean, look, we love fractional as well, obviously. I think fractional is an incredibly powerful tool to really bring in people of all income brackets, all across the country, soon all across the world, to be able to own some of the most iconic stuff in history.
Well, Peyton jersey, it's like, what happens when 6,000 people can be able to say, I own a piece of that jersey? Like, it's a different collector in many cases, but it's the ultimate flex.
How aggressive do you think celebrities and artists, et cetera, will really start to promote trading cards?
We do stuff with Alexis Ohanian, who I think is one of the savvier people out there, and he talks a lot about celebrity. Like you just mentioned, music. We think every one of these. Like I actually believe Peyton will make more money off the field than he made on it, because you take the cachet, you're doing the TV, you're doing all this stuff. Everybody, I think, who's a celebrity is going to be able to figure out ways to monetize their value. And you go down to the NIL stuff, it's happening younger. We're very bullish on backing the celebrities who actually want to do the work.
Josh, for Zero Cool, what can the market expect? Or should we expect more projects like Gary's to be rolled out?
Expect more projects and that aren't necessarily like Gary's. NFTs occupy a place in our lives today, very polarizing as it is, but we actually have previews of the next set that's on the floor in the Zero Cool booth. Surprise, it's Jackass. It's from Jackass Forever, which came out a couple months ago. Obviously, getting the number of penises through legal was an issue. Hey, I didn't make the movie; we just made the cards. But different.
That's not in here, is it? Only my 11-year-old would like it very much.
Those are all your cards. So you tell me. I'll let that one go. But this is a really good example of just a completely different audience, right? And by the way, completely different product. VFriends was 1,000 boxes, 10 cards each, very high premium. You guys have seen what prices. Jackass is 10,000 boxes, 60 cards a box, much more traditional set. We expect the clearing price, it'll be sold the same way, blind book auction. We expect the clearing price to be down, a couple $100 as opposed to $2,000. But again, there's an audience around that movie, Johnny Knoxville, that unbelievable crew. By the way, there's some amazing cameos in that as well, in terms of talking about really big stars as part of that. So that's what's next, and then we'll move on from there, and hopefully we'll have less nudity moving forward after that.
This question's for Peyton. Peyton, in your career, who had the most God-gifted talent that you played with or against?
Well, that's a great question. It's so hard to pick one of my favorite teammates or players. I played with so many talented guys in college, with Indianapolis and with Denver. My favorite teammates were the most talented players that were also the most unselfish. I played with a guy in Indianapolis named Edgerrin James, who took more pride in his blocking and catching ability as he did in his rushing yards. And he took pride in the fact that the defense was putting a safety down to create an 8-man front and stopping him, and that was allowing us to throw the passes to Marvin Harrison and Reggie. So he took pride in that. That's kind of rare, that the guy as talented as he is was also unselfish. Best player I played against on defense was by far Ray Lewis. When he retired, it was the greatest day of my life. Sent flowers to his press conference. Don't come back like Brady. He was so big, strong, smart, instinctive. Studied film like a quarterback. Always thought he kind of knew what we were doing. Right? I called a lot of plays at the line of scrimmage. Felt like he kind of knew some of those plays. When he blitzed, it's like he knew our snap count, he timed it up, always kind of hit me as he's running downhill, kind of like he slammed me into the ground. He kind of used me to help him get up, and whisper in my ear, I'll be back in a couple minutes, pump, Really friendly guy. He and I are good friends now, but when we were playing, he was not that friendly, let's just say that. So, yeah, without a doubt, Ray Lewis.
Seth, go for it.
So, how can we use cards outside of sports to help in education?
I love, 1,000%, right? How many people up here, their first job was trading cards as a kid, right? Like all of us. I learned how to everything about business and math and economics and all that as a kid doing that. And now we have the opportunity to do that with our children, and a lot of us are, right, in terms of the number. So I'm so bullish on that as part of the mechanisms to grow the hobby, to bring more people in, to have hobby shops that are more accessible for parents and children to come in there. And there should be cards that are actually more focused on that. One of the things we've been toying with, just as we're in like hyper growth mode of our team, we're hiring people nonstop to try to grow. And a lot of them, most of them really aren't trading card people, right? If you're an amazing Android engineer, you don't need to know cards. But then how do you get them up to speed quickly? So we've been trying to figure out, can we gamify a way, almost as an onboarding mechanism, and then to test that as a way to then, you know, allow kids to do that, whether it's video games or whether it's, it ends up in board games. There was a guy I met at StockX who had created a board game with the NFL and with the NBA, and it was used to teach math in middle schools. And it was a licensed product that do that. Like, how much more fun is it to learn math, you know, by studying free throw percentages or something like that? So, yeah, I mean, huge can of worms there. I think it's massively important, and as we think of growth of the hobby, like, it is about the kid, it is coming in there, so it's great.
Yeah, I'm going to +1 that one. eBay, we've seen people use eBay buying and selling to do those things, to teach the idea of profit margin and to just margin and to think cost and all those kind of things, and we love it. And I think there's more to be done there. I think it's a great call. I think this is the kind of thing that we could really lean into and hopefully help some people just create, you know, special math classes, special English classes, language classes, whatever it is, even programming. Some of the, you know, a lot of the things that we've seen people build to make eBay work better for them has come from people just, you know, hacking away on coding and whatnot. And so I think, like, at the entry level, yeah, math, let's do it. And then you could see this build into other things. And I think that that's something that's really cool. Those are the kind of side projects that we get to work on that are just, that drive a lot of energy.
I think education around risk, right? Like for young collectors who might not understand the difference in investing in Peyton Manning, #1 draft pick, and Peyton Manning, retired Hall of Famer, there's gonna be less maybe movement now. But you just don't want these kids. I remember going massive on Pete Rose, and then, you know, boom, it was gone. And so going back to what Peyton said about character, I think you want to know in a cancel culture who, you know, who's got character, and it is going to cost you a ton of money when they blow themselves up.
Hi, this question is directed for Peyton and Josh. Just a quick background, my name is Daniel Penjwani. I'm a founder and CEO of a company called Liquid Sports. It's been around for about 18 months. We recently just signed Ricky Henderson as kind of our first Liquid Sports athlete. My question to both Peyton and Josh is kind of, as a young entrepreneur trying to gain traction in the market, you're kind of looking for a few big validators to be able to get behind your product to help you roll out. Obviously, rejection is a huge part of the business, so you kind of have to get used to that. But my question is, how do you really effectively go out to the people who have that influence, who have that power, who have the pedigree to be able to walk up to them and show potentially the benefits of your platform without seeming too pushy? Kind of, for example, I have a pitch deck in my backpack. I'd like to get one in your hand if that's possible.
Hustling.
Yeah, I mean, I think hustling is the key, and I don't think you assume anything, that there's no way that LeBron James wouldn't be interested in that, because for all you know, maybe he is interested in being part of a newer startup company and being the face of it and helping him grow. So I think that'd be your first mistake, would be, I'm not even going to waste my time going to him. I'd keep that pitch deck on me at all times, right? And you run into somebody at an airport that's friends with Ohtani, right? And hey, would you mind passing this on to him? So, you know, keep going. Look, I mean, all of us have faced, you know, rejection, right? That's part of it. But if you're not trying, then I think that's the biggest mistake you can make.
I think we need to get to the point where the community is global and you can interact with anybody in it, and we need to take the hobby global. We need to be able to trade with people. We need to be able to buy and sell, of course. but I think being able to trade is on the horizon. And but now you're trading either in the virtual space or in the physical space. But you need to be able to make those transactions happen very fast. You need to make them trusted. You need to have them be safe. And then the last piece of this that I think is important is to continue to see new people coming into it, and that's going to be through a lot of the innovation that Fanatics is going to do. Right, driving new people into the space and making them understand why there's a value of having that merchandise travel along with you. So,
very cool. eBay recently had your strategy day, right, where you announced some plans to expand what you guys currently do. One thing that I think caught a lot of the attention of the market were your plans on vaulting. If you could just speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, the vault's exciting. The vault's going to serve a lot of different purposes, and there's a lot of different needs out there. We did a lot of research. There's people who have the need for storage. And if you think past trading cards too, trading cards, thankfully you can fit quite a bit in a relatively small space, but even that case right there is going to start to add up after a while, right? And so there is a general need for just simple storage. And there's a lot of people who want to take their hyper high-end value cards and put them someplace safe. eBay's not going anywhere. We're going to build this vault, and that vault's going to be secure, and the vault's going to be safe, and it's going to be in position forever. Then there's the people that want to get their stuff into the vault so that they can leave it there, and if it appreciates in value, they can sell it there. And then there's going to be people who are going to buy that card and they're going to leave it in the vault, or they're going to buy that card and they're going to send it to their house so they can put it on their wall. We're adding a component to this process that's a little different from how things are working right now. The vault in our mind is a virtual example of any one of these cases that are out there on the floor that people are buying and selling from. And that's going to be the most explosive component of it. And we've seen, the wonderful thing about having the data that we have is we see things happen in real time. Matthew Stafford's searches jumped over 80% on the day of the Super Bowl. Tom Brady's retirement caused a 450% increase in sales of his rookie cards. 450%. His unretirement, we're not even sure what that's doing. We're still trying to figure out the impact of that. But we see this stuff happen in real time. So we see a world where there might be a bunch of those Stafford cards sitting there in the vault, and he's lighting it up in the Super Bowl, and everyone's like, I gotta have that. That's an asset that I need. That's undervalued. He hasn't been, and 2 weeks before, everyone's jumping on Mahomes and Josh Allen because it was the greatest football weekend like I've ever seen. It was just absolutely bonkers. But then, Stafford gets a chance a couple weeks later. You see that happen. You see it happen in basketball. Someone lights up for 40, 50 points. Cards go up in value. Someone twists an ankle, cards go down in value. And it's happening in a real-time environment. And right now, eBay as a platform is almost fast enough to support that. But we need to get to the point where the vault is live. And what the vault will effectively do is cut out that shipping part that takes a few days for your card to get from point A to point B. You have a live asset, you have ownership of it right away, and you're ready to go based on whatever happens in the next couple of days if you're thinking short term.
Fascinating. Well, Brent, you've had an incredible success so far. You are someone who, is the creator of Pawn Stars, which I think a lot of collectors might have been their first sort of entry into the world of collecting, right? Obviously based here in Las Vegas, with Left Field. Your second act is with Wheelhouse, and Josh has vision in his title, but I would say Wheelhouse is a real visionary in terms of you are for sure, Josh. You are for sure. Brent, with Wheelhouse, you have a vision for this where you're not only producing really incredible content, but you're also incubating and investing in the various brands and platforms and content that you're creating. I'd love to hear a little about the vision in back of Wheelhouse and how you guys are.
Like some of Peyton's partners, my partner is more famous, Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy and I just saw an opportunity we thought in the marketplace to invest in tech and consumer stuff that we could then use his relationships and my relationships to help juice good founders and good ideas. My backstory is a military brat, and I love working with athletes and military folks because it's all about teamwork. And so building teams is a lot of fun, but my first business was baseball cards. I was the 8th and 9th grader working up against the 40-year-old guys who, had a lot more backing. But I think telling the story of the items, listening to the Peyton story behind that jersey, and very few athletes can host Saturday Night Live. Peyton's ability to tell a funny story, but also the passion behind it gives you the opportunity as a fan to connect more. And for me, it was, my dad and I were Bo Jackson guys. And every morning we'd get up and look at the box score, and then when I finally got to meet him and get his autograph, that's what bonded my father and I. And now that I have a couple kids who are getting into the space at 7 and 9, it's just such a joy to see it. So what we realized with Pawn Stars, which Vegas has been very good to us, we launched counting cars out of that, American Restoration. They're all shows about stuff and with fun characters. But telling the story of these items, each and every one of them, as it goes through a collectible, can help, we think, drive value. And so we've got with Peyton a series with King Golden coming out on Netflix later this year. And we just really thought it was an incredible opportunity to get somebody who has Peyton's Rolodex, get Ken, who's a character of all characters, and really highlight this industry, and hopefully a way that will open the market up to a lot broader, diverse, audience, because I think the industry is so cool and fun that the more people see it and understand the value of these items, it'll grow.
Yeah, I've read, by the way, at the height in 2011, you guys were getting 7.6 million views on Pawn Stars.
It was the #1 show on cable. It was being networked, which is fucking crazy because the story is I was on a bachelor party here and I was like, Vegas is fun. What story hasn't been done? And pawn shops was obviously not something that anybody thought would be a good show. So we thought it might be. So we called these guys the Harrisons, and Rick, he's just a character. He said, "Fly out here, you'll see for yourself." Got on a plane, flew out. Shot. What I really understood from Rick's a character who got his GED. He fell out of school in 8th grade. He was epileptic, and they didn't know how to treat it back then in the same way they do now. So Rick sat in his room. He's got photographic memory, and he just read books, not sports. Like books that were so informative to where he actually knows that. So once we knew he was authentic and actually knew, because a lot of reality shows are a little bit juiced. It was fascinating to have him tell the story of the stuff.
That's awesome.
But they had 75 people would come in there before the show. 5,000 would wait a day in the Las Vegas heat once the show was going.
That's awesome. Yeah, so you've mentioned storytelling, obviously. That's your core competency there. How important do you think content and storytelling is to drive the prices of these collectibles?
So on Pawn Stars, the stuff will sell for more once it's been on the show. And we invested in Rally, which I'm sure a lot of you guys know, and we were able to put Rob, who's one of the founders, on Pawn Stars with some of the stuff that was going through there, and we're pretty sure that it juiced up the price, and certainly juiced up, the people signing up for the Rally app and stuff like that. So I think it's just like the Olympics. Who thought you would want to watch curling, right? But you get somebody who tells a passionate story about somebody who this is their life mission, and all of a sudden you're like, all right, I can watch curling.
I love it.
Once every 4 years.
So you've mentioned obviously Golden Touch, of course. So that is a reality show coming out about golden auctions, and you're working with Omaha on that, of course. Tell us why you're so excited to create content about sports collectibles.
Well, and the show will be wider than just sports because we think the variety and the entry point for a wider audience, and Netflix is a global business. Once we turn in those episodes, they're turned on across the world. So we hope and expect that this industry that is so hot, red hot, in the U.S. just continues to go out. And of course, soccer. What Josh and these guys have done is insane. So we hope to be a small part of that, I think.